Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about Apothecary Diaries, which was your choice for this week. But before that, we were talking about how we're both wrong and other moral dilemma questions. If you want to hear a part of that wider conversation, you could go to patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content. Now, before we dive into this week's choice, I want to take a moment and invite you to experience Japan from the comfort of your own homes through Tokyo Treat snack boxes. Now, what is Tokyo Treat? Well, Tokyo Treat is a fun and exclusive Japanese snack box that is filled with limited edition Kit Kats, specialty flavored Japanese chips, seasonal treats, and the occasional Japanese soda that is only available in Japan for a limited time. Now, each box also includes a cultural guide booklet, and this booklet will tell you about the snacks that you're having, how they should taste, a little bit of information about them, along with the allergen information, because you don't want to be eating something that you're not supposed to be eating. And this booklet helps make sure that you're not eating something you shouldn't be eating. But that's not all this booklet has. In this booklet, it also contains a wealth of information about Japan's culture. So all the information for them, everything about going on in the seasons, about Valentine's and everything else that's going on out there, it'll tell you. And it also tells you about the theme that each box has. And speaking of themes, this month's theme is the Sweet Valentine's theme. And it's perfect timing for Valentine's Day that is right around the corner. So share the love of this Valentine's season with Tokyo Treat. And this box is packed with chocolatey favorites and Japanese love-inspired treats. This limited edition Valentine's Day box brings a perfect mix of sweet and savory snack. Whether you're treating yourself or someone special, every bite is a little celebration of love. Unbox the fun, share the love, and have a truly sweet Valentine. Because I know that whenever I get this box in, it is something that I like to do with my wife. Sit down, we watch an anime, we watch a show, and while we watch the show, we are just demolishing this box every single time. It does not last past the day we actually get it. And some of the snacks that are in here are the Kit Kats Red and White, the Tanuki Spicy Ramen Noodles, the White Chocolate Strawberry Latte, the Crunky Cocoa Bananas, which were absolutely delicious, the Sweet Strawberry Mochis, and then the Poke Hearts Ramen Candy. Honestly, great. Loved them. They're all delicious. Every single treat that's in here is honestly really delicious. Every single time, never lasts past the day. And special for our listeners, if you use our affiliate link along with coupon code featured anime, you get $5 off that very first box. And this box makes a great treat for that special someone. Again, if you use affiliate link along with coupon code featured anime, you get $5 off that very first box. And trust me, the treats are worth it. And seeing the face on your certain special someone, or when you look in the mirror after you get your box in, it's worth it. And also, we have an affiliate link for you for Crunchyroll in the show notes as well. If you click on that link, you'll get yourself a week free when you sign up. You use that, give us a little bit of kickback. We very much appreciate it. And also, there's a link in there for you to get a little bit of a discount on your first purchase from the store. Of course, all this information and all the links and everything like that are available in the show notes as well as on featuredanimepodcast.com. And now on to the meats and potatoes. The Apothecary Diaries came out in October 2023, ran all the way through March 2024. Producer for it is Dentsu, Square Enix, Toho, just to name of a couple of them. Studio for it is OLM and Toho Animation Studio. It's based off of a light novel. The genres are drama, mystery, historical, and and it's 24 episodes long. And so the basis of the story is you have our main character, Mao Mao, who is the daughter of an apothecary who happens to get kidnapped and sold to the back of a palace where she becomes one of the ladies in waitings. And in a manner of speaking, she, by a way of her intelligence and the fact that she's an apothecary and loves to figure things out and solving things, becomes acquainted with Jinshi, who frequently goes to her to have her help him figure out certain things that are happening within the rear palace, to help solve any mysteries or things like that are going on back there. While she's also at the exact same time a lady in waiting, she is also the poison tester. One of her quirks, though, is that she loves poison. Not just to the effects of it, but to consume it, taste it, and everything else too that you could possibly think of. That is the basis of this story for Apothecary Diaries, aside from the fact that she is like Sherlock and Watson combined into one.
That's a good way to put it. That's a real good way to put it. I do feel like that she is oddly too smart for her own good. Does that make sense?
Yes. But at the exact same time, I mean, I'm glad that she is smart. It's, for this, for the anime, it takes place in Imperial China, if I remember correctly. So it does not actually take place in Japan. It takes place in China. And on top of that, it's not an isekai. It's just a straight up fantasy, historical, purely fictional world that's happening. And everything that happens, everything that she does is always for a reason, or she looks at things from a completely different perspective. What you don't understand is that she is 17 and she is still learning. And so she is frequently catching up on things or not understanding the full repercussions of her actions, amongst other things at the exact same time. And so it's a very solid character growth for her and development too. So you're seeing her from the point when you first meet her, and you get to see this general growth and learning curve, because it's not like something happens and she doesn't learn from it. No, she learns and continues to learn, but she also repeats some of the same mistakes at the same time. When you're first actually introduced to Mao is she's in the pleasure district and she's walking home and she gets kidnapped, which apparently was a common thing for, at least in this story, for what was happening. And so she was sold to the rear palace so that way her family can get money and she has to stay there for X amount of time. As a result, though, she lies and says she doesn't know how to read or write. So the guys get paid substantially less than what they would have gotten had they actually, said, hey, she knows how to read and write. And she did, which she actually did. But as a result of that, and the fact that she has an apothecary background and she understands poisons, she figures something out, leaves a note that Jinshi was able to figure out who left the note and what was going on. And it wasn't too hard for him to figure it out because he wrote it on a piece of paper, stay behind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
no, it was genius. Like,
yeah,
this show, I'm pretty sure we've actually done a review on it. Ascendance of a Bookworm. Have we done a show or
no
on that?
No, we have not.
No.
It's a good series though.
I like it. Yeah. I thought we might have, because it was one of the ones. It's an older one, but oldie but a goodie.
It's not an older one. It's not that old. Defined old.
I thought it was at least 2 years old.
Oh my goodness. That's
for anime. Come on.
That's not old. That's not old.
Things change every 6 months. Anyway, it's something when I had a lot more free time. That's an oldie but a goodie for me.
Okay. All right.
So in a similar it reminds me a lot of Ascendance of a Bookworm. If you have watched it, fantastic. You'll understand what I mean. If you haven't, if you like the Apothecary Diaries, I would recommend watching that too. To explain for those who've never seen either, you don't want to miss an episode. Things are incredibly well paced, and if you skip an episode, you miss what, depending on what episode, you could miss some vital stuff that you're like, oh, when the heck did that happen? And they do something that I really appreciate, where and I'm just throwing episodes out there. I can't verify if this is accurate or not, but as an example, something in episode 5 happens that it feels like a throwaway, like, oh, okay, cool. But, or you see something in episode 5 that in episode 11 becomes like a clue to solve a problem that we didn't know was going to happen. And it's the phrase "it's elementary" comes to mind in a big way. Like you said, it's very similar to Sherlock Holmes. And this girl is uncharacteristically on it. Like, very, very little passes her without being seen and understood. But the thing I like about the character the most is she's very low maintenance, I guess would be a good way to put it. She's unassuming. She doesn't have too many feelings on anything, except when she does. And when she does, they are striking.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing, and to really kind of expand on what you were saying, is they talk about or reference or have events that happen in every episode that you feel like are isolated or going to be episodic, and she's just going to continue to move on, and ends up not being episodic. They will reference it, or they'll talk about it, or something down the line. And so what happens in episode 1 may end up having an effect on episode 4. And if you skip an episode in between or something like that, when you're watching it, you're going to be completely lost as to what's happening or why something happened. It's done in such a way to make it so that way it's engaging enough for you to actually pay attention to the show. It's not something you can typically just throw on and not pay attention to, because they reference or talk about things that happened. It's like, oh, this one thing happened. Like, take, for instance, when someone had like burns or rashes on him. This guy had rashes on his hand. It's like, oh, well, this is what happens when you have these rashes and these salts. And Jinchi made like a comment saying, hey, maybe we should check this out a little bit more. 5 episodes, 6 episodes later, oh, snaps. They still went in and did that. That was still a thing going on in the background for the last 4 episodes that we knew nothing about. And now it finally came to fruition.
Yeah, it makes it feel like it's a very linear story. It doesn't jump around. I mean, it does. It has 2 episodes so far that I can think of where it gives you a flash forward event. And you're like, that was a bit odd. But they do it in such contrast and such a fast snapshot. Like, I think it's on for less than half of a second, and you're like, what's going on? And then it later on in the episode, you're like, oh, that was a flash forward flashback kind of thing. It was interesting. Anyway, she wants to be super low key, and she just can't. And I feel like it's the thirst of knowledge. The thirst for, I don't know if it's knowledge, but conclusion.
No, it's totally knowledge, because she's going out there to figure it out and know. But at the exact same time, she also learns to keep her mouth shut, and she knows her place. Yeah. And that is a comment that she frequently uses. I know my place. And even when not Jinshi, but Goshen talks to her, she even says, like, hey, should you really be revealing or talking to me about any of this? He goes, yeah, I'm not worried about it. You know your place. It's like, in other words, I know to keep my mouth shut. It's like straight up, just full on calls her out. I was like, no. I am comfortable talking to you about this because you know to keep your mouth shut. You know what'll happen if you don't. And it's like, fair enough.
Yeah, a veiled threat that cuts through all the BS. No, it's so cool.
Yes.
Again, this is very well written, and it's got plenty of vibrant colors, and you could totally tell when when she throws on the charm, because he starts, for lack of a better way to put it,
Sparkling.
I was gonna say,
Fluttering his
hair,
eyelashes,
sparkling, and he has such a mischievous and deceptive character. And the reason I say that is because he's a very, very pretty man on purpose. His job is to literally go into the concubine area.
It's not on purpose. He just naturally looks that good. And you even find out, like, he's always kind of looked like that even beforehand. But continue. Sorry. Anyways.
But so his thing is he's utterly loyal to the emperor, and anybody who in the area that I believe the emperor referred to it as his garden, tending to his garden, if any of the flowers should stray towards another bee, then those flowers will be plucked. Well, for lack of a better way to put it, they'll be replaced.
Well, yeah, but that's why they're in the rear garden. They're well taken care of. And you know why they're calling them all eunuchs, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to have no working stuff down there. But regardless, they're not supposed to. I believe what he said was they're only supposed to have attention for the emperor.
Yes.
To spread their attentions elsewhere is
they're his concubines. It's
like cheating almost to them.
Well, not even just that, right? It's one, they're concubines. Two, it's to him ultimately. I mean, like they portray him as a very nice and kind man and very caring and whatnot.
Didn't you hear the emperor?
The emperor.
Okay.
But obviously he's not going to take precautions because you only have women and eunuchs employed in the rear palace where the concubines are.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. They're supposed to be very beautiful women back there. And so they want to kind of keep things on lock and key to make sure that, hey, dudes going in there doing whatever they need to be doing or want to be doing, shouldn't be doing it. And that's why people be dying. Should anything like that happen. Not that anything like that happens in the show, but it is heavily implied in one small spot.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this show that, like, not a spoiler warning, but like trigger warning on this one in particular. It deals with some real heavy topics.
It does.
And they don't shy away from not the graphic parts of it, because blood and gore is not really in it, but like the finality of it. If somebody is shown to have passed away, it's 100%. You saw the body. It's there's no coming back. There's no magical, and they're all fixed. No. It's a very realistic portrayal of what life is like in that area. Mm-hmm. And
they do.
It's mentioned several times.
Yeah, they don't shy away from it, thankfully. And that's one of the draws for this is it's not these super extravagant or magical things that happen where you can't use your brain to figure it out yourself, or if someone was smart enough there, if someone else was smart enough there, was able to figure it out. It's totally that type of situation where people are able to go up, and you even know the, like, take a lock-on who's introduced about halfway through the series. You even know, like, he knows what's going on. He's having someone else take care of it because he wants to test. He wants to have someone else kind of play on the same field as him, because for him, it's easy to figure out. And he even talks about that, how he views other people as chess pieces. No one else really matters except for a couple other individuals, where you're just like, oh, all right then. And
tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. It's like, I literally don't matter or care about you. I just do things for fun or whatever. And hey, if someone happens to die because I'm bored and I don't care enough to tell you in time, guess what happens? You die.
They should have been born into a better situation.
Right? Yeah. And that is one of the great things about this too, is that they don't shy away from that. And you're introduced to characters like that, where you have people who are very cynical or have that viewpoint of it. And people who are born into certain aspects of life have a very particular viewpoint on things. And they're not afraid to shy away from that life or the how life typically was, especially for certain areas like that. Like they talk about selling selling escorts. What do they call it? Consorts. Thank you. Courtesans. There we go. Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to say something else entirely, and I knew I was way off base.
Yeah. Wrong letter to start with.
Right. But sell them off, and they talk about the real aspects of it. Is like, well, if you're intelligent enough and you're able to do this stuff enough, you're going to move on to these other classes. If not, you just sell your body and that's all you're going to be worth. However, if you have all these other traits and you do all these other things, you're not selling your body, you're selling your time. And for these people, for these women who get up there and are 35 years old and ready for retirement, hey, guess what? If they've maintained their chastity through that whole time, man, they're going to get bank payout for that.
Yeah. High prices and everything.
Right. But
it reminds me of, go ahead.
I was going to say, but they also talk about how does, and they broach the topic and they talk about it. It's like, well, how does one actually reduce the cost of a courtesan to make it affordable? Right. And it's like, well, there's a couple of different ways. And one of the ways is get them pregnant. It would basically make it so that they're nothing. They're worth nothing at that point if you get a courtesan pregnant. And they touch on it in a not so light manner a couple of different times. They broached it.
That.
Yeah, they like touched on it a little bit, and then they came around and just full on sucker punched you. Like, hey, bro, this is the thing. Deal with it.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I thought quite interesting. I can't vouch for everything that we see in here, but a good 85 to 95% is verifiably accurate. And what I mean by that is the poisons that they're referring to, they're not only real poisons, they act in the manner that is described. The antidotes are similar in effect and in practice. I think they took a Dr. Stone approach of whatever Dr. Stone, the kid was doing, legitimately would work if you followed those instructions. Whereas in here, like honey, did you know that honey is bad for babies?
Yes, I did.
I didn't.
Really?
I had heard something like that. Yeah, I had heard something like that, but I didn't understand. Like, it could kill. Honey could kill a baby.
Yes,
and that is frightening. Yes, and I didn't know. Yep. And I talked to my wife about it. I was like, that can't be real, right? Like it at worst case, you'll get sick. No, it's a full on no. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know. It's not cool, but like it's a cool aspect of information that they are giving you in entertainment formats. And there's other few things that will help you build an immunity, so to speak. And as a poison tester, you're meant to taste many different poisons to be able to identify them as they go. You've also got other things that she covets, like a portion, like I think it's a gallstone or kidney stone of a bovine is technically poisonous, but like she thrives on it. She looks for poisons because it's tasty to her. She'll vomit it up. All that. She won't kill herself over it.
She wants the effects and everything like that. But the thing is
she loves pufferfish.
A lot of people do pufferfish, and they even talk about why they enjoy it, because you're poisoning the tingling and the feeling and everything like that. A lot of people like poison fish, and the extraordinarily poison things aren't served. They go through the whole process and they talk about all the poisons in depth, and they go through the motions of helping you understand why something's bad or why something's good. The other thing that they do really well in this too is when she's first brought back to the rear palace, they, all the girls that are there, they're talking about how they feel sorry for her or they have these really concerned looks for her and everything like that. And it's because she is a poison tester. And what a poison tester does, for those who are not aware, is when you're there with someone of status, your sole purpose is to try the food, to make sure it's not poisoned, and then make it so that way they can have the food themselves. And they even talk about real world scenarios and things that you typically do to try and help identify and show that there are poisons available, along with certain etiquette too at the exact same time for things that are being served to other people.
Yep.
They also talk about food allergies too at the exact same time, and the stages at which they can be bad. And even Mamau even talks about how she has a buckwheat allergy, and if she eats it, her throat starts closing up. She starts going into, she doesn't say anaphylactic, but she starts going into the anaphylactic shock where it can kill you.
She describes it very clearly.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing too, because they also talk about hives. They talk about all these other things. So it's not just a matter of, poisons that you would normally think about, but anything that is in danger to their health would be poisonous. So if they're allergic to fish, guess what? Hey, she can't have this. It'll kill her. It's poison for her. At that point, it's considered a poison. Buckwheat, if Mamau had buckwheat, guess what? You just gave her a poison for her because her body thinks of it as at that point, it would be like a poison and it'll kill her.
Yeah. On a side note, how many, and we might have talked about this before, but there was a TikTok, YouTube video thing I'd heard a few weeks ago that was basically said, I wonder how many cooks and chefs were put to death simply because the taste tester had a food allergy. I think I told it to you and you're like, none did, because it's but I mean, it's an interesting thought considering right here. Whereas the food tester tastes it, no issues, gives it to the king or whatever. They have a severe allergy to that they didn't know about before. And you're like, ugh. Or worst case scenario, vice versa, the food taste tester dies. But as you said before, most likely not.
Yeah.
Just interesting concept for that one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. We had talked about that when you graced me with your presence.
When I visited. Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's just overall the anime is worthwhile and it's nice. I wasn't expecting it to be nice for something that doesn't have any like extraterrestrial or extraordinary abilities in it. Like there's no magic, there's no as our good friend CJ would say, there's no extracurricular visuals. And it's a sleeper. You don't expect it to be good, but after the third episode, you're like, you know what? I'm invested.
Yeah, no, I'm
invested and I look forward to it.
Yeah, it is a solid show to be sure. With that, I mean, like we could go into more depth. We could talk about the granularity of the episodes and talk about some of the big surprises that happen throughout there.
Yeah, I've been dancing around them. I'm trying not to say them, but
I mean, like honestly, it's
they're good.
Yeah, it's a great show. There's a lot that happens in this anime that is strung throughout the whole thing, and the character development for her and her general growth and the interactions that she has with everything and everyone at the exact same time. You can really see that growth and how people interact and what they think of her. Take Jinshi, for example. He's infatuated with her. He everyone calls her, or they call her his new toy, but he truly cares about her deeply. And you can tell at that progression all the way through, because one, she's not interested in him at all for his looks, which is great. And for him, it's unfounded. It's new. It's like, what? She's not gaga over me, over my legs. But the second you hold up, hey, I have this really cool herb or poison or this or that, all of a sudden she is all on it. She is on it like white on rice.
Yeah, and there's if you pay attention, again, they'll slap you in the face with it, but there's conspiracies that if you're keen, you'll understand and see what's going on several episodes before they're like, hey, you missed this.
Yep. Yeah.
So it feels very... Oh, and the thing I liked, there was no 7.5 recap up till now.
Yeah. That was a great thing.
That was nice. Yeah.
Because
every episode was genuine.
Indeed, which is very nice. I hate it when they do the recaps. I understand when they do the recaps. When it's a super long series and you're getting like 50 episodes into it, I could see a recap kind of like, hey, you may have forgotten about this stuff that happened.
But when it's 12 episodes, you got 7.5. You're like, I've been here the last 6 weeks. Why do I need this?
Yeah, exactly. But this is obviously it's 24 episodes and they still didn't do that, which is great. It is wonderful. Yeah. I loved it. That being said, how about we give it a rating? You ready, sir?
I believe I am ready. Yes.
All right. So on a scale of up to 10, how would you rate this?
This for me is a solid 8. Actually, no, I apologize. It's not an 8. It's a 9. I'm giving it a 9 because in regards to even beyond just poisons, everything that was done was essentially functional. Like there's a spot where if you wanted to look at this, and there's a spot where they have to smelt metal. They don't have to smelt metal, but they could. The ratios were not only correct, they were done in an ingenious manner, and it just seemed awesome. It seemed good. It seemed a lot of thought was put into it, and you just got to appreciate it. I can't really say why it's not a 10. I just know it's not.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just a gut. It didn't jump out as a 10. So yeah, solid 9 for me. And you?
For me, I'm going to give it an 8. Artwork was great. Music was good. Story was great. Great character development. However, all the positives that we talked about, the negatives for me are, one, while yes, they did talk about or reference things earlier and then talk about them much later on, there were some things that I felt weren't ever talked about. Never got resolved. Questions were never answered. And the fact that there are certain aspects of the character interactions where we're never, we're just never really needed or warranted or explained, or certain things were just never explained. Like in general, what is the purpose of things that are happening?
One thing in particular I can think of that I think you and I are on the same page about. So that makes, that's why it's not a 10 for me, but it makes sense why it's an 8 for you.
Yeah. So for those of you who are curious, like CJ in our chat is wondering, purely out of curiosity, the things that they never talk about, they kept referencing, they kept probing it. One of the things they don't talk about in the show is the significance of the hairpins. They talk about them. People are handing them around. It's like, oh, but you don't understand what that means? It's like, no one's talking about what they mean. Why would I know about what it means? She doesn't know what it means. I don't know what it means. What is going on? Right?
Well, they give you enough to infer, but they never specifically say, they don't confirm it.
Right. And
my thing was those. Good?
No, by all means.
Okay. So my thing was the different colored fire and the signal they were supposed to send, potentially.
Right. Yes. Like, what was the signal for it, right? Was the signal for them to signal other people of something else happening? Like, okay, well, what was the signal that was happening? I mean, like, is this going to be resolved in season 2 where we're going to find out more? What was the overall or general action of someone so-and-so being poisoned or attempting to be poisoned or anything like that. What's the reasoning behind this? Like the in general information for everything that is going on and happening. Like for some of it just never gets resolved. That being one of them. Like you see people are tied to this in a certain way, but that never gets resolved. You get some resolution of it, but you don't get the full effect of this is why this was done in this very particular way. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't tell me jack squat.
Yeah, because he very specifically said, oh, they're different colors, that like they're sending a message. And like, I wonder who they're sending a message to. I wonder what the message might have been. I wonder what kind of, blah, 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 what. And I feel like if there was going to be an answer to it, everybody involved has already kind of been either exposed or not dealt with, but like exposed or found out. Like that story arc in my mind has already finished.
Right.
And I haven't seen season 2 yet, so I don't know what it's about. But I think bringing it back, you would need some kind of special aha moment for that to make any kind of sense, to wait a whole season.
Right. And I am watching season 2, and I'm like, whatever's happening in season 2, I'm not basing any of my thoughts or conjectures or anything like that based on that, because this is unique. It is a standalone. It is just season 1. I don't care about season 2 right now. But that's why, right? You have those points where you're just not really given information. You're not really told everything for the larger picture, and it may go into context, or it may be talked about, or you may get that resolution in season 2, but it never actually, you never get those answers in season 1. And there's a couple other spots that happened at the exact same time in season 1 as well, where you're just kind of left out to the open. It's like, what did I just watch? Or why is this going on? What is happening over here? And there's no information, no answers for it. So that's why I'm going with an 8. Next week's choice. Do you know what we're watching, Rick? What we're watching next week?
We haven't really discussed it, but I mean, if I had my choice, considering I just spoke highly of it, I'd go with Ascendance of a Bookworm. But I've had the choice for the last 4 choices.
Yes.
So I mean, we could pick something out of the. I feel like it, with the exception of the solo you did.
True. You know what we haven't done? I don't think we've done it. I don't remember if we've done it.
Is it wrong to pick up Girls in a Dungeon?
No, because I want to wait for that one to finish season 5 before we go into that one.
Okay. So it's, to clarify, it's not wrong, but we'll still wait on it.
Yes. What we're gonna watch is oh my gosh. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I don't think we've done Mashle, Magic and Muscles, have we?
That's fairly new, so I don't think so.
That means nothing. That means nothing, because this barely finished airing last year. So,
well, what I mean by say it's fairly new, no, I don't think we have.
Okay.
I'd like to say no. It's because I remember watching. I never finished it, so no, we didn't do anything on it. I wouldn't mind it. That's a good show.
Yep.
Well, I should rephrase. It's entertaining.
All right. Well, there you go. Mashle, Magic and Muscles, which is actually it's been recommended a couple of different times by CJ from Anime Anonymous, who also did a review on the Apothecary Diaries. If you want to hear their review and hear them talk about it, link for their episode's going to be in the show notes for you. So go ahead and go check them out, hear what they have to say on it as well. Thank you for the recommendation for Mashle, CJ. And of course, let us not forget who also recommended to us, because I feel like they would be mad at me if I said did not bring them up, and that would be Goose as well. So Goose. CJ, both of y'all, thank you for the recommendation of Mashle, Magic and Muscles. Look forward to watching it and talking about it. But That's all the time that we have for today. If you feel like we did too much justice, not enough justice, or anything like that, got things right, wrong, or anything else, feel free to reach out to us. All the contact information is available on our website at featureanimepodcast.com, as well as in the show notes. And so until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.